Hi everyone, this is Chapter 6, Existential Therapy, Part 3 for Counseling 4500. Alright, therapeutic goals. Existential therapy is seen as an invitation to clients to recognize the ways in which we are not living authentic lives and to make choices that will lead to becoming our capable beings. So, boiling it down, basically you recognize as a client that you are not happy and maybe you're making the wrong decisions or wrong coping skills. And now that we're going to explore the ones that are healthier and hopefully making you happier, that you would choose that way. Therapy leads clients to authenticity and learning to see that they are deceiving themselves. So that is, that sense of awareness that we were talking about, or the sense of catharsis, right? That aha moment. Oh, this is what we're doing. This is why we're unhappy. Therapists can help clients reclaim their own lives. Four essential aims of existential humanistic therapy. Number one is to help clients become more present to both themselves and to others. Remember, we want to work on ourselves, but then also realize that we're working with other people, or we live with other people, we interact with other people. So we want to enrich those lives as well. Two, to assist clients in identifying ways they block themselves from fuller presence. So what that is saying is, you want to realize that you might be putting some resistances on yourself, and that you're preventing yourself from dealing with certain types of issues. It might be because it's painful, which is totally fine, right? But we want to be aware of it and also know that we can move from there. Three, to challenge clients to assume responsibility for designing their present lives. Four, to encourage clients to choose more expanded ways of being in their daily lives. Again, realizing that there are many other options that can make us happy, or at least try to make us happy. So why not try those things instead of being unhappy? Therapist's function and role. The therapist will ask how clients contributed to their own situations that they bring up. So owning up to their responsibilities, right? Which is, how did you get to where you are today? Restricted existence is limited awareness of themselves and often vague about the nature of their problems. So some of us kind of avoid, like, well, we don't know. It's just, it is just what it is, right? So instead, we're going to have them own up to those things and talk about that and why they are feeling that way. Therapists will assist clients in seeing ways in which they constrict their awareness and the cost that they pay for doing that. So, because you're deciding to live this way, what has it cost you so far, right? Maybe relationships with other people, happiness, whatever it is. Clients' experience in therapy. Clients in existential therapy are encouraged to assume responsibility for how they are currently choosing to be in the world. Experimenting with new ways of behaving in the outside world is necessary. Confronting ultimate concerns rather than coping with immediate problems. So, what are the bigger pictures? What are the big things that are making you repeat all the small decisions, right? And hopefully, once you realize that, then you can start to change your decisions that you make every day. That will then affect, the rest of it. All right. Not solution oriented, aim at removing roadblocks to meaningful living. So kind of figuring out why and purpose of meaning of living. Then from there, you can kind of choose what you want to do. Relationship between the therapist and the client. Quality of person-to-person encounter is a stimulus for positive change. So again, we're seeing this trend where basically the client and the therapist are working together, right? Attention is given to the immediate ongoing experience. So we're talking about the here and now, today. We're not worrying about the past. We're not worrying about the future relationships. We're talking about us connecting today. Offer honesty, integrity, and courage. Therapist offers presence and pays attention to the distance between themselves and the client. So you have to be aware of what's going on, right? And you have to still be professional, but be aware of what's going on so that you can understand the relationship and if it's working, if you're able to offer that encouragement and they're taking it and appreciating it. All right, when it comes to applications, the therapeutic techniques and procedures, we've said that before, is that therapists may incorporate techniques from other models. So they don't necessarily have any specific ones. They kind of have like more ultimate questions, like who am I and what's the meaning of life, right? But then you can use other techniques if you want to apply to this, because it's kind of like giving that anxiety that allows them to feel like, oh, now I need to start doing stuff within the context of understanding the subjective world of the client. Existential therapists prefer to be thought of as philosophical companions, not as people who repair psyches. So we're here as a therapist to ask those questions about the purpose of your life, right? We're not necessarily here to try to fix anything, but we want to ask you these questions so you become more aware, and then offer and also understand that, what you can do as a choice for everything. All right, 3 general phases. Phase 1 was the therapist assists the client in identifying and clarifying their assumption about the world. So you're going to examine their values or beliefs and assumptions to determine their validity, right? So from here, what you're doing is you are basically trying to label everything so that we understand what's going on today, right? Before the intervention happens. 2, clients are assisted in more fully examining the source and authority of their present value system. So now we're going to start to explore and let you know that there are more things that, are in front of you that you can choose from, so that you don't have to live this life that is unhappy or meaningless. Leads to new insights and some restricting of values and attitudes. Get a better idea of what kind of life they consider worthy to live. So really explore what would make your life meaningful. Phase 3 is helping people take what they are learning about themselves and put it into action. So again, a huge component of therapy is to actually do it, right? And so your aim of therapy is to enable the clients to discover ways of implementing their values in the therapy and then in the outside world as well. So they're going to practice in a safe space in your office, and then hopefully they're going to apply it into their actual world. Okay. Clients appropriate for existential counseling. Again, here's just a list of different areas where existential therapy is effective. I mean, pretty much, everyday places that you would assume. All right, now we're going to apply these things into group counseling. So again, group counseling is a group of clients with 1 therapist or 2, depending on where you are. So why would that be beneficial in existential therapy? Remember, Irving Yalom used it with his cancer patients, right? So this is something that has been effective. So you want to enable members to become honest with themselves, okay? Widening their perspective on themselves and the world around them. And that does help because you're actually having, let's say, 7 other people in a group of 8 clients, and they're seeing how other people see the world as well, how alone they may feel, how serious they feel like they need a change now. Have they slowly all discovered the meaning of their own lives? Are they sharing commonalities when they realize those things? Clarify what gives meaning to the present and the future life. Responsibility is how the group behave, or how they behave in group. Group is a microcosm of the world. Microcosm is kind of like a fancy word for a smaller version of the real world, right? So 8 people in counseling, or 9 with the therapist, or 10, whatever, really is like a smaller version of the bigger world that they live in and the community that they live in their real lives. Learning how to relate to one another in a meaningful way. So maybe you might have disagreements, in agreements. You might build relationships with certain people in the group more than others. So all that stuff is kind of like a smaller version of the real world that everyone lives in. So it's really nice to then allow them to practice how to deal with conflict or unease or sadness or whatever it is, anxiety that they're feeling here, so that they can then apply it into the real world. And of course, establishing rewarding, nourishing relationships. And typically in therapy, in group therapy, you do connect with certain ones, you bond with certain people within the group. So that helps you learn how to form friendships or whatever it is that it may be. Existential therapy from a multicultural perspective. The strengths do not dictate a particular way of viewing or relating to reality. It really does depend on each person and how they see it, right? Focuses on issues that we all must face, such as love, anxiety, suffering, and death, because again, that happens to all of us. Allows a client to explore how their behavior is influenced by social and cultural conditioning. So how they were raised, how the environment that they grew up in has affected them today, right? And again, it doesn't matter what culture you live in, because those things will happen in every culture. Some clients will not feel free, but can increase their freedom once they're aware of these limits. And yeah, so some of us live in more collectivist societies or relationships, even in America. So, we need to know what the balance is. We need to know what we can choose from the limits in our environment, and then from there live our happy lives, or try to live our happy lives. All right, shortcomings when it comes to this is that it can be viewed as very individualistic, which is very true. You're trying to find out your purpose in life, right? Not your group's purpose in life. So for some collectivist groups, they may not necessarily like existential therapy, and that's totally fine. Some people feel that environmental factors can severely restrict choices, such as lower socioeconomic status. Like we said before, when you are someone who lives in poverty and don't have a lot of opportunities, it's going to be a little bit harder for you, or very hard for you, but you need to know that you can try to remove yourself from this and go somewhere else if you want to, right? But it might require a lot of work. Clients can also see it as patronizing. And again, when we talk about all those philosophies and those theories, it can look very scary, and it looks like you're coming from a place of a lot of education, and a lot of things that we talk about might fly over their heads, and so they might feel like, oh, now you're just kind of like, almost feels like you're talking down on them or making fun of them for not understanding all of this. And it doesn't have to be that type of opportunity if but for some people it might feel that way. Clients can also feel very misunderstood when it comes to this as well, because maybe they don't understand what their meaning in life is. It's very, very difficult to go, hey, what is the meaning of life when you're 15 or when you're 25 or when you're 35? All those things can shift and change around. So for some people, they feel like they don't know how to answer, like, what is the meaning of life? I don't know. What is the purpose of my own life? I don't know, right? And part of that will come with experience and time as well. But again, for some people, it might feel very scary. All right, limitations and criticisms of existential therapy. Concepts may seem like a mystical, like all those words that we're talking about, all those philosophers. Sometimes when I hear philosophy people talk, it goes right over my head because I'm like, this is too much thinking, too much talking. I don't know what you're talking about, and it feels really intimidating, right? So hopefully, I helped you all understand this a little bit more with this lecture. Not set techniques means that therapists have to develop their own procedures. So because there's no specific techniques here, you're going to have to go look for your own and decide what would fit along with your client and then also fit into your toolbox of helping other people. All right, it requires a therapist to be mature and capable of profound and wide-ranging understanding of what it means to be human, which means, can you talk about the meaning of life with your clients? Start practicing with your friends. We're not saying that you need to know exactly what it is, but to be able to talk about it so that you can ask open-ended questions. You can ask these questions that will help people get to know who they are, to become more aware of who they are, and also consider what is the meaning of life for each person, and it will be different for each and every one of us. All right, we're done with this chapter. I'll see you later. Bye.